Begin our meeting of the Falls Township Board of Supervisors, June 21st, 2011. We're going to start with the salute to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. All right, Mrs. Pullen, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Zupka?
Here.
Mrs. Wislowski?
Mr. Wislowski is here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Here.
Okay, before we begin our meeting this evening, we have a special presentation to make to the Liberty USO. I'll let Mr. Dents make this, if he doesn't mind.
Sure. Back in May, we held our Q for the Troops, the barbecue down at the Township Park, which even though it rained most of the week leading up to the barbecue, it was still a great event. A lot of people came out. We had a lot of fun. We raised a lot of money for Liberty USO, who we heard their presentation the week before the event. And we have here a check for $18,790.65 to present to Liberty USO tonight. And John Kerner's here from the USO to accept the check.
Can I say a couple words?
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead up to the microphone.
To the Board of Supervisors and the residents of Falls Township, I can't thank you enough. For a first event of this nature, in my personal opinion, with my previous experience involved with things like this was incredible how smooth it went. Were there a few bumps along the way? Of course, there were a few things that we learned. This money, for those of you that aren't aware, will take care of more than 1/4 of our entire food budget for the year for Liberty USO, which is coming in at a real handy time because although we've been kind of busy or slow for the last month or so, life is getting real busy and real hectic for us. It's anticipated that from August until the end of the year, we'll have somewhere in the neighborhood of 15,000 troops come inbound from Iraq and Afghanistan. This will enable us to provide the services that we have, but more importantly, it's going to give us an opportunity to restore some of the services that we've had to cut back a little bit on. One of the more popular portions of our care package that we give to every soldier deploying on to the war zone is a 100-minute international phone card. Now, those of you that have had any experience with the military or any combat experience could probably appreciate how much it would mean to a soldier on deployment to have the opportunity periodically to call home. Sadly, we had to discontinue that service for 2 to 3 months last year because we run out of money. That plain and simple. Right now, we just completed last weekend one of my particular favorite programs. Okay, it's called United Through Reading. The soldier, mom or dad, has the opportunity to take a child's book off the shelf. They read it and make a DVD out of it, of the soldier reading the bedtime story, and then the book as well as the DVD is sent to the child. Now, there's not too many things that's better for a kid than have mom or dad read them their bedtime story the entire time they're on forward deployment. But there's another consideration to that we tend to overlook, and in my mind, it underscores the absolute importance of this program. USO has a quarterly magazine called On Patrol, and about 6 months ago, there was an article in there about a Navy lieutenant who was on her second deployment. And her 3-year-old son got that DVD and the book the day after they got notification she was killed in action. Now, what better thing to leave your child? The last words that you have to say to your child that they can take with them for the rest of their life, sort of a farewell. These things are tremendously important. Right now, we also have a varied amount of vouchers that we give you, that we give out to the troop, whether it be travel vouchers. If there's an emergency, they have to get home, we supply them with catch vouchers. We have counseling programs that we're trying to assist the VA in, because there is a tidal wave of problems coming on us, folks. Anybody that understands anything about PTSD will certainly tell you we got a tidal wave coming. We're doing everything that we can to assist them, and in some novel ways. Assisting with therapy dogs, which are the up-and-coming thing, okay? And the USO is involved with that as well. There's a multitude of different plans, and I could tie you folks up all night trying to describe them. I'm not going to draw this out too much further. From the bottom of my heart, and I know I speak for every member of Liberty USO at a time when money is real tight. We all know the economy's in the toilet, and this contribution is incredible. It's significant, and it's hard for me to describe the amount of pride that I have in you people being able to stand in front of you to accept this check. It's a very humbling experience. It truly is. I would certainly hope that the members of this township, 4th of July is coming up. We have our independence as a nation to celebrate, and that's bought and paid for with the sacrifices of the brave men and women in our uniform. For every one of you township residents, when you watch the news tonight, you're going to see on TV how the Syrian government is slaughtering their own people because of peaceful protest. They want a voice. They want democracy. They want to participate, and they're being slaughtered. Now, our constitutional rights give us the freedom of speech, the freedom of assembly. We have so many wonderful things that we take for granted. And on 4th of July, please take a moment to appreciate that fact. Their governments are slaughtering their people, and ours protect us with their life. And they're expanding that beyond the borders of this country so well, and we can see that right now with the Arab Spring, which I personally, in my heart, believe that was inspired by the sacrifices of our troops. The other thing, too, is if you look at our Constitution, the Second Amendment actually guarantees our right to protect ourselves from the government. And those soldiers put their lives on the line to protect us from our government. How can we overlook that irony? How can we not respect that sacrifice? On the 4th of July, I'm going to ask everybody, send a contribution to whether it be the USO, the Wounded Warriors, any of the organizations. There are so many worthwhile ones out there. They're every bit as dedicated as I am. Now, to those of you on the Board of Supervisors, and my intent is not to put you on the spot, Saturday morning at 0500, that's real early in the morning, there's going to be a plane landing at McGuire Air Force Base of troops returning from Afghanistan. I would like to personally invite 4 of you to join me if you so desire, okay? I'll take you over, and you'll have the opportunity to experience firsthand what we do. You'll have the opportunity to be first 12 civilians to shake their hand. I'll be more than happy to let you help us cook their welcome home breakfast, but I think I'm going to make you do dishes. If you'd like to join me, see me afterwards, I will be more than happy to take you over to experience what we do. But I warn each and every one of you to take us up on it. It's infectious. There's no feeling in the world that comes from working these troops, these brave men and women home. And you have my personal invitation. It would be my honor and privilege to take you over. On that note, I'd like to, once again, I want to thank the residents of the Falls Township for their support of this Q for the Troops. It was a phenomenal event in spite of the weather and everything else that went wrong. Here's my boss, right? And I certainly hope that we have the opportunity to do this again. The USO's motto is until we all come home, or until they all come home, excuse me. And our mission statement is to enhance the quality of life of the military and their families wherever they may be. I promise you that I will do the absolute best that I can to live up to that motto, and I ask every resident in this township to do the same thing. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you for so much for everything that you've done for us. This $18,000+ is going to go a long way. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
If I could take just another minute, I'd like to introduce the President and COO of Liberty USO, Mr. Joe Brooks. Joe? I'll hand this over to you. Thank you.
I'll be very brief. The USO of Pennsylvania and Southern New Jersey has responsibility for the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, basically from Lake Erie to the Delaware River. but all of central and southern New Jersey, from Mercer and Ocean County all the way down to the very tip of Cape May County. We do that with 6 paid staffers to cover an entire Commonwealth and half of a state. The only way we're able to do what we do is with volunteers like John Doc Kerner. Mr. Kerner is one of a select group of 300 volunteers that covers 2 states. And that 300 volunteers donate 35,000 hours a year. That was the number in 2010, 35,000 hours on behalf of our troops. The USO's mission is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, because that's our military's mission. So we're able to do what we do with volunteers, but what we're also able to do is the support of an appreciative American public and folks like you. This event means the world to the USO. We receive not $1 from the federal government. We are the civilian bridge to the military. So anything we raise, we do through the support of the community, through corporate and philanthropic support, and events and moments like these. So again, on behalf of the 169,748 folks we served in 2010, on behalf of the 37,123 folks we've served through April 30th, I say thank you. This money will go a long way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'd like to add that this event, we started planning this back in September. Tom Christine from Smokin' Dudes Barbecue, who's here, and myself. And I think just about everybody in the township building, from the finance department, public works, the police, and Parks and Rec were involved. And there was a lot of work and planning that went into this event. And everyone did a fantastic job, especially adapting with the weather changes at the last minute. And it was a great turnout, and hopefully we can do it again and it just gets better next year.
Thank you. Okay, and a thank you to Mr. Dents as well. Obviously, he was the one who brought this idea up, in conjunction with Mr. Christine, and really was the person from this board anyway who did the most amount of work on this. So, thank you
May I,
very much for
Mr.
your
Chairman?
work. Yes, Mrs. Wisłowski.
You promised to take me over to McGuire and cook with you. Do you remember when we met?
Yes, I do.
May I go this time on Saturday?
Saturday morning, we have to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning.
I'm an early riser.
Okay, I'm holding you to that.
Okay.
Do the dishes.
I don't mind doing them. I'm used to hard work.
All right, move on to our agenda. Item number 1 is consider awarding the insurance policy, property and general liability for 2011-2012. Mr. Gray?
Yes. The township received quotes for insurance from Jerry Vaughn for general liability insurance regarding the upcoming insurance period beginning June 18, 2011 and ending June 18, 2012. 3 insurance groups provided complete quotations. They are as follows: National Casualty, $398,905. Travelers, $264,802. And Trident MRM, $342,285. Some of the highlights of the Travelers package include $500 deductible on cars, $1,000 deductible on trucks and fire vehicles, $10,000 deductible on public officials liability, police liability, and employment practices, and a $696 average annual cost for vehicle insurance on all vehicles, including fire and police. And also, this premium does include the Quaker Penn boat ramp. At this time, the board is asked to consider Travelers for the general insurance package for the period June 18, 2011 through June 18, 2012.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gray. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zipka?
None. No.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
I have none.
Mr. Dents?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm just noting that we're in a great position that our actual expenses have been dropping over the past number of years. So, not by substantial margins, but by enough that it makes a difference. So, this is great news.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there any public comment needed? I see no hands for public comment. All right, then. Is there a motion to award Travelers the general liability insurance policy for the township in the amount of $264,802?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Zupka. Mrs. Pullen, pull the board, please.
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wislowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, next is proposal for engineering services for an Act 537 update. Mr. Gray?
Yes, the township received a letter from Tom Beach from Remington Vernick Beach Engineers dated May 26th. This is for a proposal for engineering services for the Act 537 plan update. The amount of this proposal is $42,000. At this time, the board is asked to consider this proposal. Here tonight to discuss this proposal further is Tom Beach from Remington Vernick Engineers.
Mr. Beach?
Yes, thank you. This is a plan that DEP requires you to update at least every 15 years, and I believe you were requested by DEP to update it since it's been, I think, back in the 1980s when the last time that you updated your plan. Our proposal obviously is to, the purpose of a sewage facility plan is really threefold. First is to protect the health, welfare, and safety of the residents by putting together a plan for correcting any malfunctioning on like septic systems, overloaded treatment plants, sewer lines, and so forth. As the Board of Supervisors is probably aware, we are the consulting engineers for the Township of Falls Authority. So we have most of this information available and be able to dig into the existing systems to find out where your problem areas are. The second one is, second purpose is also to prevent future sewage disposal problems from occurring by working with your planning group to determine what areas will see future development and planning accordingly for your treatment plants, your pump stations, and your sewer lines. And then the third one's just the main purpose, third major purpose is to provide for prevention of groundwater contamination in the Commonwealth. So there's a list of items that DEP requires you to incorporate inside the plan. We've identified those in our proposal letter. And generally, when you meet with DEP, these plans are subject to about a 50% reimbursable agreement with DEP.
Okay. All right, so as you said, this is a mandate from DEP. This is not something we have an option on.
Yeah, I believe Peter might have gotten a letter from DEP on this one, or? We've been in contact with DEP.
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Okay. And as you said, there's a 50% reimbursement from the state. So the amount here is $42,000 for this. Comments or questions for Mr. Beach regarding the Act 537 proposal? Mr. Zupka?
No, none.
Mrs. Wislowski?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
No, Mr. Chairman, I understand it's a mandate. We need to do it, and obviously as our engineers for as your contact with the township, you know what you're dealing with, so.
Okay. Mr. Dens?
Not for Mr. Beach, but Mr. Clark, could you explain why the township has to pay for this and not TOFA?
This is a requirement by the Department of Environmental Protection. It is in many ways a planning tool that they want the municipality to produce to cover all of the things that Mr. Beach had just mentioned. DEP requires the municipality to do this Act 537 plan and not the authority. So we are required to submit it to DEP.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one other question.
Sure.
How will we use this going forward? I know we've had to do this periodically, and I'm just not sure how, what Mr. Clark brings up, is this just something the state is going to use, or have we actually used this in our ongoing planning when the development plan comes before us? I'm sure we do, but I don't know exactly how.
It is supposed to be used by the township as a planning tool. I'm assuming that Mr. Beach and Remington Vernick and Beach will look at the areas of the township that are not yet sewered and will determine whether or not it is a realistic possibility that these areas may be sewered in the future, and if it is, they should be included in the Act 537 plan update. So it is actually a planning tool in that regard for the township.
I'm glad to hear that, because a resident did approach me recently in an area that either needs sewer or needs to have sewer lines replaced, and so this kind of connects to that, so thank you.
Okay.
And as part of this plan also, the township's required to actually, as Mr. Clark indicated, the township is actually the one that's required to approve the plan. So it's not something the authority could do. It's really the township.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Beach. Comments or questions from the public? See no hands. All right, then. Is there a motion to award the proposal for the Act 537 update in the amount of $42,000, not to exceed, to Remington, Vernon, and Beach?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I believe it's 42,200.
Oh, is that what it is?
Mine has
It says 42,000.
Mine's different. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I apologize.
That's all right.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Mrs. Poland?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Weslavsky?
Yeah.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, third item on our agenda, the township has, over the past few years, been trying to do a little bit more of the building inspections through its own employees, but we still have to subcontract out for some of the inspection, some of the types of inspections that our personnel do not have the certifications for. We are looking to change at the moment to a different company, Remington, Vernon, and Beach, who actually are here and do construction inspection services. For a variety of reasons, to change from the current company that we have to Remington, Vernon, and Beach. The fees, looking at the memo from June 8th from, I think this is actually from Mr. Beach, yes it is, indicates that the amount that we'd be paying for the services, which is basically hourly. Is that correct, Mr. Gray?
Yes, hourly.
Yeah, so it's hourly. Would stay the same as the current company we have. The only difference with Remington, Vernon, and Beach is that if the inspectors that we have from them are required to do inspections in the field, that we would reimburse them for mileage from this building to that site and back again. And we wouldn't necessarily be paying if we have an inspector coming in from, Lancaster every day to go to work here, and we wouldn't be paying his wouldn't be paying his mileage from home to here, but we'd be, if he was required to go out from here to do inspections. A conversation I had with Mr. Bennett, our code enforcement officer who oversees these inspections, indicated to me that about half of the time these inspectors spend here in the building are spent just in the building reviewing plans, and about half the time is out looking at sites. So they wouldn't necessarily be out all the time. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zupka?
This has come up before about our own inspectors not having some of the proper certification that they need, and we had to go out to an outside company to cover all the inspections. And I guess it's been over 2 years now. I guess I shouldn't say I guess. My question partially will be to Pete, that have we done anything to get our own people certified? And I mean, do we have a program working toward it so actually we can become completely self-sustaining with our own people?
Mr. Bennett, who runs the department, has been encouraging his 3 staff members to go out and get additional certifications that they'd be able to do these type of tasks out in the field. So our goal is to eventually be able to do them.
Now, I understand what you're saying. He's encouraging them now. Again, with us being a township, a government, I don't know if you can do the same things that you would do to encourage people in the general workforce by giving them an incentive to, if if they get their certification, they get, some type of a bonus, or, to make sure any certifications they go to, they have to get, they're doing, that we make sure they're paid for it. It's not that's coming out of their own pocket. I don't know if we can do that because we're a township, but I know in the past, past years when I would have to work with somebody trying to get people into different areas or get them certain training and or certifications. In some cases, you had to give them a positive incentive to do it, but again, it was a little bit different.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Kozlowski?
Mr. Gray, what's the length of time for a person to be certified in a specific area?
Well, he has to take an examination, he has to study for it, it would take time, and then whenever the next test would come available, he would take that test, and I'm sure he would receive notification shortly thereafter.
How much time, though?
I can't say for sure, possibly 2 weeks. I could find that out for you tomorrow, get you next time.
It seems to me that, if it only takes 2 weeks for them to become certified in certain areas, I would rather see that it stay in-house. Our fellows know every blade of grass in this township, and I think they're more able to do the inspections in a manner that would satisfy the residents.
Mr. Snipes?
So the fees are comparable to what would be comparable to what, or are comparable to what we're paying now,
Right.
with just the potential of doesn't sound like very much travel, but some travel.
Right, correct.
I mean, I'm comfortable with it as long as we're also looking to certify some of our own people, but I know that's a gradual process, so that's all I have.
Mr. Dents?
I've discussed this at length with Mr. Bennett, and I've spoken to Mr. Beach, and no, I have no questions. This is a move in the right direction for
Okay.
many reasons.
Okay. Just for clarification, any incentives, I agree with Mr. Zupka's point, and certainly we do have those incentives, for example, with the police department, I believe. Correct, Mr. Gray?
I'm sorry.
We do, with the police department, we do have incentives like that if they take classes or and reimbursement, I believe, also.
Oh, yes, they do get reimbursement, yes.
We don't, but that would be something, but I think these inspectors that we have currently, the 3 inspectors we have, are in part of the AFSCME.
AFSCME union, yes.
Is there anything in that contract with that union for incentives? All right,
No,
so
there
that's
isn't.
possibly something for the future.
Sure.
That might not be a bad idea. And we have, for the last couple of years, we've been doing a little bit more of our own inspections. Previously, we had a company called BIU
Yes.
for a long time, up until a couple of years ago, and they did a lot of inspection work, and then we made a change with a different company, and we started doing a little bit more, and we're making a change again. But, I mean, I agree, and this is something I brought up several years ago. I agree with Mr. Zupka and Mrs. Kozlowski, and I think the other board members as well, that it's better to have the people who are here every day. We know who they are. They know the people in the township. They know the issues. But I would like to see us move in that direction. I think we're taking some steps in that direction, but we'll continue moving that way. Okay, public comment? I see no hands. All right then, is there a motion to award the building inspection services to Remington, Vernick, and Beach following the fee schedule outlined in the June 8th, 2011 memo?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded?
Okay, Mrs. Pullen?
Question on the motion.
Yes.
How much is budgeted for this outside work?
Yearly budget, Mr. Gray, do you know off the top of your head?
I'm going to say between 150 and 200,000.
Right. And obviously, it's not...
It's paid by fees, though.
Yeah, it's paid by fees, obviously, but also it's not really changing since the majority of the costs are staying the same, which is
Yeah.
the hourly rate.
Yeah, the rates are going to be the same.
Right, and the mileage, we would use what the IRS...
IRS guidelines.
Mileage chart, yeah, okay.
I was in here reading records today, and I find that the more we farm out, the less control we have over our money. And a good example is the legal fees for the year 2010. We budgeted something a little less than 150, I believe, and we spent 275,000. And I just don't like loose government.
Did you have to vote on the motion, ma'am?
I haven't been called.
Mr. Zepka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wislowski?
No.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
And as we said, we've actually been doing more things in-house, not farming out as much. So this is continuing that. Okay, item 4 on our agenda is consider...
Harvey,
Yeah.
If I may interrupt, as a formality with accepting the proposal from Remington, Vernick, and Beach, the current agreement that we have with Keystone requires termination for 60 days'
right.
notice. There is no exclusivity provision in that contract, so the transition can begin immediately with Remington, Vernick, and Beach. But we do need a formal motion to terminate the agreement with Keystone so that Mr. Gray can notify them tomorrow morning and the 60-day clock will begin to run.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to terminate the Township's agreement with Keystone?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zepka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wislowski?
Abstain.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can we put like we'll say like a 6-month plan in effect to get our own people fully certified? If Mr. Bennett could work something out, with the scheduling of the different certifications and do everything that he can and you can to get these people, 6 months by the end of the year fully certified. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, item number 4 is consider authorizing notice of intent to award the bid for the 2011 road improvement program. Mr. Gray?
Yes, I have a letter from Jim Sullivan from TNM Associates, dated June 17th. TNM has reviewed the bids submitted to Falls Township and publicly opened on June 15, 2011 for the 2011 road improvement program. 3 bids were received. First one was General Asphalt Paving Company. The reconstruction cost was $3,175,892.12. The second bidder was James D. Morrissey, $3,250,183,000. And the third was Scott Building Corporation for $4,199,909.50. General Asphalt Paving Company is the lowest responsible bidder for the full-depth reconstruction phase of the road improvement program. It is recommended that the Board of Supervisors authorize the Township Engineer's Office to issue a notice of intent to award to General Asphalt Paving Company for the bid cost. Final awarding of this contract is contingent upon a successful outcome to the required responsible contractor determination that will be performed by T&M. The Board is asked to consider this proposal request.
Okay. All right, and we are looking also not only just at the reconstruction, but also General Asphalt was the lowest in the mill and overlay aspect of the program as well. And that would bring the total cost to $3,663,795.07. Mr. Sullivan, just give us an idea again. What are we milling and overlaying, and which roads are we reconstructing?
The full-depth reconstruction portion of the program is in the Yardley Farm section of the township. There are 5 roads included in this part of the program. The first is a portion of Winding Way from the western intersection with Alden Avenue and Vernon Road. Vernon Road for full length, Allendale Drive the full length, Alden Avenue, the second part, the first part was done this year, so the second part is from the bridge to the intersection with Winding Way, and then Rose Avenue for full length. Mill and overlay is for the Penns Grant section of the township, Penns Grant Drive, Independence Drive, Justice Lane, Federal Lane, Musket Drive, Centennial Drive, Allendale Drive, and a very short dead-end road off of Independence Drive. All those roads will be milled and overlaid.
Okay. All right, thank you. Again, looking at the total bid, $3,663,000. Mr. Gray, what did we budget this year for the road program?
Construction cost was $3,826,000.
All right, $3,800,000. Okay, so we're about $200,000 under budget with this bid. All right, so comments or questions from board members. Mr. Zupka?
In the past, we've used General Asphalt, and we've also used the Morrissey Company. And even though Morrissey hasn't done the volume of our road work that General Asphalt has, I believe the percentage of on the punch list and just different issues with the work that General Asphalt did was much higher than when Morrissey had done the work. I believe the change we had a lot more change orders for one given project from General Asphalt compared to what Morrissey was doing. So even though General Asphalt is a low bidder by about $200,000, $220,000, I think it's my belief we had the quality of the work and the time frame. Morrissey should be the one we should really be looking at.
Okay. Mrs. Kozlowski?
Yes, we might be $200,000 under budget, but that usually translates into change orders, and we all remember the infamous record of Unitech engineers who were ultimately fired after I insisted and insisted and insisted, and I'm leery about this. Has Scott ever worked for us? They're terribly high.
I don't believe they've ever done any projects. I think they've bid before, Mr. Sullivan, is that correct?
They have bid before, yes.
But
what
never,
did they do, Mr. Sullivan?
They've never been awarded
They've
anything.
bid before, but they've never been a successful bidder on any road project in Falls
We've
Township.
had problems with Morrisville and Morrissey and General Asphalt, haven't we?
We have problems with every contractor. Everybody are good and bad about different things.
How are we going to monitor the change orders?
There hasn't been a road program change order since 2004.
There hasn't been since we got rid of Unitech?
Oh, there was one the first year that we took over the Unitech project. But since then, there has not been a road program change order.
Do you recall the amount of that change order?
I think it ended up being somewhere around $250,000.
Thank you.
Okay.
This year, not commenting on the change orders, but James Morrissey is doing the project in Yardley Farms now, which has been not problems that on their half, but the weather was a major problem. The gas lines were problems. And I've gotten several calls from residents, with issues with for their house. Mr. Sullivan and his staff have taken care of every problem with them, and Morrissey has been very cooperative in the program they're doing now. But it's stuff that's going to come up no matter who's doing the job. There's things that are going to happen when they're digging up the whole road like they have been over there. Mm-hmm. This job should be a lot easier in the Penn's Grant section where it's just a mill and overlay. That's all I had.
Okay. Mr. Snipes?
No comments. I'm glad the bid is coming in under budget.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan, would we be in order if we favored Morrissey in this? What's the impediment? Any legal blockage?
Well, I don't want to speak to any legal issues, but James Morrissey is going to cost you a couple $100,000 more than General Asphalt would.
I like to read the bottom line, and it ain't always so. So I've just it sounds like Mr. Dents likes Morrissey, it sounds like Mr. Zupka likes Morrissey, and I certainly do.
Well, that's not necessarily true. My point was that no matter who's doing the job, there are going to be certain things that people aren't happy about. There's going to be a problem here, a problem there. It's impossible to get a perfect job from any one of these companies. I personally would right now go with the lowest bidder because it's really, they're all doing the same job. They're really hiring the same guys. It's going to be the same people doing the work. It's no matter who's supplying the equipment, whether it's Morrissey or General Asphalt.
Well, I'm sort of, it's interchangeable as far as I'm concerned, so I'll support what you want.
Respectfully, board members, you have no choice. The law is quite clear. You must award to the lowest responsible bidder. And unless we are able to determine, for whatever reason, that General Asphalt is not a responsible bidder, you must award the bid to General Asphalt.
That is why I asked the question about the kind of problems we've had in the past with our road pavers.
And we're entering into, at this point, if we approve this evening, we enter into a review period, basically, where we could, if something comes up, if there is some kind of problem, we could, change and award to a different company. That's the reason why that was put in there. And as Mr. Clark said, when you have public work like this, especially this much money, talking about $3–4 million, you have to go with the lowest bidder. The only way out of that would be to just reject all of these bids and rebid the entire thing, in which case you're not guaranteed to get a lower bid. You're not guaranteed to get different companies than the three that bid already, and obviously you're adding time to the entire project. So, okay, so any public comment needed? See no hands. All right then, the recommendation of the Township Engineer is to award the project, the reconstruction and mill and overlay to General Asphalt Paving in the amount of $3,663,795.07. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zepka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay. All right, number 5 is to consider change order for the boat ramp at Quaker Penn Park. For a variety of reasons, there's been some decrease, but also a fair amount of increase to the cost of the park, or to the boat ramp. Mr. Gray?
Yes, Township received a letter dated June 10th, 2011 from Mr. Jim Sullivan at T&M Associates concerning change order number 1 for the Falls Township boat ramp at Quaker Penn Park. This change order is an increase in the job of $156,676.30 to the original contract amount. The board is asked to consider this change order at this time.
All right, thank you. Mr. Sullivan, just give us an idea basically of, there are some decreases in the amount, and there's also some increases, obviously more increases than decreases. What's the sum of all this? It's a short summary.
Right. There's a lot of things going on with this change order. As you mentioned, we're eliminating the landscape package. We eliminated some of the paving because we found a very good base course and put a lot more stone in than we needed for asphalt. So there's a change to our benefit in that respect. The grading of the grass bleachers has been eliminated in favor of grading for the baseball field that we plan on putting in Quaker Penn Park. So we saved some money by eliminating the grass bleachers, but we spent money to grade a baseball field. One of the big items is the electrical work for the security cameras, storage shed, and payment kiosk. It was not in the original bid. That was a change order of $56,500. And then another major item in this was installation of 45 timber support pilings for the concrete ramp in lieu of the original design, which went into the cove and wasn't actually in the channel of the river, where we thought we could use a minimal type of foundation. But further geotechnical investigations after the bid was awarded indicated we need timber pilings and concrete grade beams. So the bottom line is the increases were $258,852, decreases were $102,176, for a total change order to $156,676.30.
All right, you said the largest number on here, largest single number on here for the increase was the installation of the 45 timber support pilings underneath the concrete ramp.
That's correct.
You said that was done because the location of the ramp was moved from the cove to the river.
Yes.
Why was that move done?
That was forced on us by the Army Corps of Engineers. There were mud flats in the cove that we were not allowed to disturb in any way, shape, or form, so we had to move the ramp into the channel, basically.
All right, so the Army Corps asked, or not asked, but told us politely that we had to move it, and moving it added some cost to the to that project. Okay. In addition, as we've talked before about doing some work building a baseball field, we've had one of the local little leagues come to us about the need for a larger sort of Babe Ruth, varsity baseball, size baseball field. And so that's something that we've found that we could fit down there. And one of the only areas where we could fit a baseball field at the on township property that's already that open. And so that's being done there as well. Okay, comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zupka?
No, none.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
I certainly do, because I think it just solidifies the point I just made on the prior vote. Change orders can destroy you. And an indicator to me is that we probably went out to bid before we should have. We should have contacted the Army Corps of Engineers and found out if or not that final plan would fly. Then we wouldn't be dealing with change orders. And that kind of makes the bidding process a little bit convoluted, because when it comes out with change orders right off the get-go, then it tells me that there sometimes can be funny stuff going on in submitting a bid. You submit a very low bid, and then you know you can get a change order approved, and that's how our money disappears. No other comment.
Mr. Sullivan, when we started working with the Army Corps pretty much immediately, did we not, on this project?
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I happen to know them. My son and daughter-in-law are graduates of West Point, and most of them are West Pointers.
Yes.
And they have critiqued a lot of this stuff to me.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Snipes?
Yes, Mr. Sullivan, did you go over the drive an additional 9 support piles for the floating docks to the tune of $37,000? Did you go over that? I can't remember.
I didn't mention that in my short synopsis.
So
we needed 14 total piles to hold the docks in place.
And we didn't know that at the beginning?
No.
Because of it had to be moved, is that the point? Okay.
We needed a lot more support once we got into the river channel, yes.
And the $25,000 for the baseball field is obviously to respond to requests that we've had for more recreational facilities in the township. The $78,000 we talked about was a requirement for our Army Corps of Engineers for moving the ramp. And then the whole payment kiosk, I'm trying to remember, was that a plan that we arrived at after we had done the bidding? So it's not a change order to what had originally been bid, but that's an additional request that we had for the needs of our residents and for the smooth functioning of the whole operation. So I agree, $100,000 is a lot of money, but if we're going to finish this and finish it right, I think we need to do it. And some of this is our own, to respond to requests that residents of the township have had. So. And also, is there an opening date yet?
June 30th.
The 30th. Okay.
June 30th.
For sure.
We're sure.
100% sure.
It's opening June 30th.
A lot of people are eager for that date.
I know, yes. Mr. Dents?
And that's all. No, I have nothing.
All right, thank you. And I have nothing else. Comments or questions from the public? One hands or motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
The boat ramp, excuse me, the boat ramp is here, and you have to do what you have to do to make it function properly. The only thing I'm going to ask this board to do is you make sure that the charges for the use of that boat ramp cover its maintenance, and I consider anything that you may need in the future should be covered by the charges to use that boat ramp.
Okay.
Okay? Take it easy on the taxpayer. There's a lot of money on this thing.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment? See no hands or motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so we're looking...
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive
So we're
me.
looking at change order number 1 for the Falls Township boat ramp at Quaker Penn Park. This is in the amount of $156,676.30. Is there a motion to approve the change order?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
No.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
No.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay. Up to public comment. Mr. Gray is coming with a list. Yes, Mr. Beach.
Yeah, I just want to thank the Board of Supervisors for my appointments tonight and look forward to working with the township.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all right, First name on the list, Mr. Kenny.
Roland Kenny, Falls Township. First, I'd like to thank, I believe he's an officer, Officer Brian McShane. ACL.
Yes, the Animal Control Officer.
Yes.
Correct, yes.
On behalf of the couple ladies and myself at Addenroe, I called them, told them we had Mrs. Duck. She took 7 of her kids across the grate, and she turned around, she only had 3. So she took them and hid behind the bush. So I asked them to come out and get them, because I can't lift the grate no more with my broken back. He came, I left the message on his answer machine. Within 10 minutes, he was out there. Took the grate off. He worked close to 3 hours getting them, but he got the little suckers. They're so cute. And I think he brought them down the township before he used to feed them. We had bunnies around a week ago. A couple of them fell down there. So what I did was put a screen over the top of it. They walk on the screen, they'll run away. So I just want to thank them. Another thing, Pennsylvania Avenue alongside us. I don't know if you ever have any calls on people speeding down there. I walk my neighbor's dog down that way, and I'm telling you, cars actually travel at least 60 miles an hour down there. And I think they have a house across the street that has children, a daycare center. And we all know it only takes a second to take your eye off a kid and out he goes. I was just wondering if there's any way we can set up a speed trap or something on that street to...
Well, we'll talk to the police department. Mr. Gray will forward on your concern to Chief Wilcox, and we'll let our traffic guys take a look. And we're not going to announce what we're going to do, but I'm sure they'll do something.
Everybody knows how I feel about animals. Children, 10 times.
Sure.
So, and with that, I think I'll say good night. God bless you.
Okay, thank you. Dorothy Kozlowski.
I think I'll save what I have to say for board comment time, but I do want to make a couple of comments about the conduct of some of the people at the meetings. At the Pennsbury School Board, we had a man who works at this tech school. He's a teacher. He's in culinary arts. He's a cook. And he started a rant after everyone had applauded and agreed that courtesy should be shown to each and every one. There were citizens, taxpayers, teachers, people who liked what was going on in Pennsbury, people who did not like what was going on in Pennsbury. And we all applauded the plea for civil treatment. The chairman of the school board, Pennsbury, was conducting the meeting. We lost Greg Lucidi, who was a proper person conducting those meetings. He was a gentleman. And this cook from the tech school started on a board member, Simon Campbell, because Mr. Campbell was in favor of altering the power of the teachers' unions. And he started on the most outrageous thing I've ever heard at a public meeting. And during the middle of that, he said, "And Mr. Campbell, you are the bastard child of Margaret Thatcher." And Dolnick sat there, just non compos mentis, didn't gavel him out of order. Present at that meeting were about 20 youngsters who had come to protest to the school board about bullying in our high school, or in our school, the middle schools too. But that's a disease that's happening all over the country. Young people have committed suicide over bullying and maltreatment. And here is a member of staff bullying a board member with such an outrageous thing. Well, I happen to be a friend of a captain from the QE2 who's a friend of Margaret Thatcher. And when he called me about 2 days later, I said, hey, you watch all of our township meetings from the United Kingdom. Why don't you take a look at Pensbury? And he said, why? What's on there? And I told him, and he said, oh, Maggie isn't going to like that. And I said, what do you mean, Maggie? He said, we're friends. And I said, well, why don't you tape whatever you can get and play it for her? Because I think this fellow created an international incident. She was a head of state, very respectable woman, and even the insinuation that she has an illegitimate child running around here in America was just so off the wall. And that is an example of some of the things that happen. And people were standing up and telling Dolnick to cut that man off, and he let him rant and rant and rant. He did the same thing to me. I wanted to talk about the need for no raise in taxes. I had promised to go there and get into that battle. And I was talking on an issue, and then I said I want to talk about the good teachers that my children have had. I'm not anti-teacher. There are teachers that I would weigh them and pay them in gold bars, the number of pounds they are. There are also some that are misfits in the classroom. And I just thought we should have some sort of parity and equity and some sort of common sense. And when I was finished speaking, Wayne de Blasio, member of the school board, who very often votes by telephone, I didn't even know that was going on, and he stood up and screamed, she has 2 illegitimate children in this school, illegal children, forgive me, 2 illegal children. And I looked at him and I thought, my goodness, you know, I'm 81 years old. It's an elementary school. I ought to be in the Guinness Book of Records if that were true. It was just an absolutely lunatic statement. And that was allowed to go. And then he said something about my residency. I live right across the street from the school, that elementary school in Fosington, and I have been there for more than 6 years because I've been on this board, finishing up 6 years. And I moved there in 2005. But I own a house on Trenton Road. All of the properties that I own, and there aren't many, even though Mr. Harvey would have had us believe that, and I noticed when he confronted me and wanted me to name what properties I owned, he stopped short of Mr. Snipes, and I was curious to know how many there were there. I would have loved to have had Mr. Snipes polled, but he didn't, and so we'll address that another time. But the point I want to make is these outlandish statements with no backup at all, no shred of truth, have occurred all too often. And I can tell you that I chose not to run for this position again, but I'm not going to be silent on how this township has run. I've been a people's advocate for 47 years, and I dare say that nobody knows more about the inner workings of what goes on. And anytime I walk in this building, I discover something new. It's just like the legal fees. You budget $148,000 and you spend $275,000. A budget is supposed to be your Bible for your expenditures, but there are no explanations given, and you know, I've just given up trying. I'm going the legal route, and I will also be doing what I've been advised to do by people that are smarter than I am in Harrisburg, and they said, here's how you get them to allow you to serve your time on the board. And of course, I know how. I've done the whole 6 years in 1970s. I served as on the Board of Supervisors. But I think that it's just outrageous that stuff is allowed to happen. When I was in Florida, I was fighting for my life. I had 2 heart attacks, and I was snowbound, and I couldn't come back. And I read a piece of scurrilous literature that implied that I was down there vacationing and hiding from a deposition. And that is the kind of stuff that we can't tolerate, and that's why the people in this township don't really know what's going on and what's happening to their money. And I can tell you that it's disappearing fast. And I'll say no more on the subject, but I certainly have 12 books in partial stages of completion that contain facts that can't be disputed. The documentation is there as well.
Okay, thank you. Those are all the names I have on the resident sign-in sheet. Is there any other residents who wish to speak? Okay, I have one name on the non-resident sign-in sheet, Donald Acevedo. Is that right?
I'm here tonight, Ms. Wisłowski, to back up one of your accusations about a pay-for-play in this township.
Really?
Yep, I was the owner of D'Antonio's Pizza, and before I mistakenly sold the place, there was a guy that is now there. He was in the back of my store. He told me, I asked him about the school that was going in on New Falls Road where the water tower is.
Where is your pizza place, or where was it?
It was D'Antonio's Pizza.
New Falls Road.
New Falls?
Road, yes.
Where, in the Thornridge Shopping Center?
Right next to JoJo's.
I'm asking him and you're interrupting. You don't know that people are able to speak for themselves. Sir, tell me.
I asked him what was the problem with that school there, and why nobody wants it there. And he said it didn't matter anyway because they already voted on it and it wasn't going in there. And I asked him what you can't do. I told him you can't do that without a hearing, can you? And he said, if there's nothing in there for them, it's not going in there. So you're absolutely correct.
Mr. Acevedo, the school project was approved. It was not
I'm telling you
turned
what he
down.
told me.
Well, I think you probably heard it wrong because
No, I didn't hear it wrong. I know what he told me.
The school was approved. The first hearing, they did not address the traffic issues we asked them to address, and so we had them go back and look at their traffic issues again because there was a concern about the amount of traffic a school would generate on that road at that particular spot. They did a traffic study. They came back with information that the board looked at and found it to be a good report, a pretty thorough report, and the school was approved.
Well, I'm just telling you what he told me. He also told me that he don't know why you're up here yelling and screaming every week or every 2 weeks, whatever it is, because I don't live in this township. And he said that you made a fortune off the KOIZ, and that you and Mr. Dayton made a ton of money off the landfill deal.
Did you believe him?
No.
Thank you, because that is that can be listed in the lunatic things. Please give me your phone number because I'd like to call you.
Oh, I will, because
right
when confronted, he's a gutless coward when he's confronted.
All right, Mr. Acevedo.
What do you mean, all right?
Yeah, you obviously have
minutes.
have some kind of personal issue with somebody.
I have
that
no
has
personal
nothing
issue
to
with
do
him.
with this township.
You should have heard what he said about you. He said he owns you. Owns Mr. Bennett. He owns everybody.
All right, nobody owns me, Mr. Acevedo.
I'm telling you what he said.
Probably my wife.
I'm telling you what he said.
Aside from that, all right.
And Ms. Wisłowski, there's a witness back there, Dave Clark, right there. He knows what was said, but they're buddy-buddy, so.
I want to speak with you further, okay? You
I'd like to
make sure I can have your phone number.
I'd like to meet with you after this meeting.
Come up here and
Okay.
give me your phone number.
All right. Any other non-residents?
You just made my
wish to
book
speak?
more interesting.
Okay, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, in the minutes for May 18th, 2011. Comments or questions?
Did I spell your name right?
Regarding the minutes. Mr.
Did you have a
Zupka?
sister named Karen? Was it your mother?
No.
Mrs. Wisłowski, comments or questions on the minutes from May 18th, 2011?
I'm going to vote no, they're wrong, and I'm not going to go through every one of them,
Yes,
but I
well.
can tell you I'd vote no on them because they are not accurate.
Okay, well then you should probably tell us what's inaccurate about them.
I don't tell you anything because you don't do anything about it. I've been
Okay.
trying to get something on the agenda for 6 years. I can't do that.
No, you haven't.
And
Mr.
that's
Snipes.
illegal, too. Did you know that,
No,
Robert?
I'm sure it is.
No questions.
Mr. Dents, no questions. Mr. Snipes?
No, excellent minutes once again. Thank you, Mrs. Pullen.
Mr. Snipes, she always covers up for you, that's why.
All right. Speaking of outlandish statements with no basis in fact. All right. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented May 18th, 2011?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. Engineers report. This is dated June 17th, 2011. This is the May 2011 engineering report. Mr. Sullivan, highlights?
Just two highlights, Mr. Chairman. As we heard earlier, the boat ramp, having been substantially completed a couple weeks ago, will be opened officially on June 30th, 2011.
Okay.
The 2010 road program continues to move forward. Most of the sidewalks and aprons are completed. The entire project is under binder course. Things left to do are finish some sidewalks on, I believe it's Alden Avenue, and then finish all the rest of the driveway restorations that aren't quite complete. And once that's done, any outstanding punch list items that must be completed prior to paving will be completed.
Getting some kind of strange feedback here.
And
go ahead.
At that point, the top paving will be completed. We're anticipating that should all be completed by the middle of July. So
Okay.
another 3 to 4 weeks at most.
All right. Thank you. Comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan regarding the engineers report? Mr. Zivka?
No, I'm not.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
No.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes, Mr. Sullivan, the Gamesa wind laydown area, could you describe that?
That's merely stoning an area where they lay down all their
The
windmill
blades and, yeah,
poles
yeah.
before they get transported away from the site.
So it's just a stoned area?
Yes.
I was in West Virginia 2 weekends ago participating in an event in support of coal miners and miners' unions, and the whole discussion of alternative energy was part of that. And as we were driving down the highway, a big truck in front of us was carrying a large round cylinder, and as we got close, we could read Gamesa right on it. I don't know if that was made here in Falls Township, but I was impressed to see it made its way all the way to West Virginia, where I believe that some of the windmills are being put up. So I was glad to see that. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dents?
You said you think that the road program is going to be ending mid-July down in Yardley Farms area, correct?
Pensbury Heights, yes.
Pensbury Heights, I'm sorry. Is that when the this year's road program is going to be starting? Do you anticipate any problems with that?
No, we don't anticipate any problems. They're connected, but not in each other's way. We expect the 2011 road program to begin right about the beginning of August.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. All right, now I have no comments or questions. Public comment needed? See no hands. Okay, is there a motion to approve the May 2011 engineering report?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, bill list for June 21st, 2011. Bills for this evening, or not for this evening, for this month, $2,131,709.38. A little more than half of that, or actually about half of that, is payroll and health insurance. And is looking in here, we see we paid more for fuel this month than we did for legal fees. Is there comments or questions on the bill list? Mr. Zipka?
No.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
Yes, I want to address the bill list. It was suggested by the Democratic Club in a very vicious piece while I was ill in Florida that I had voted no for police department, fire department, all the things that are apple pie and motherhood. And that's such a blatant lie. It kind of enraged the public. And I said, no, let me take care of it. Don't answer it. Don't write letters to the editor, because if you write one, they'll only publish one anyhow. And then you can do 300 and they won't publish them. But I was accused of voting no when a staff member's loved one, a member of their family, died. And that bothered me more than anything. I vote no on the invoices because if I voted for all the pay-to-play things that go on around here, and like overages on budgets, like when you budget $148,000 and you spend $275, and yeah, I'm going to answer you too, Harvey, when you try to contradict me because you lie after I'm done speaking. But anyhow, I did never do that. I vote no on all the invoices because I have pleaded with this board to break those down, put our regular payroll, our contributions that we make to the fire companies and the police department and all of that. My vote would always be yes on that. In fact, in 1975 and even earlier, I persuaded the board to start paying the fire companies money instead of just giving them a few pennies. But anyhow, the reason that I have to vote no is because all of the things that I don't approve of are listed in one list. And then, when I want to raise an issue like I did tonight, how come our legal fees exceed budget? And if I had voted to approve them, they'd say, well, you voted for it. And I may be dumb, but I'm not stupid. And I can tell you that that is a real hot issue. Now, there's other things that are happening. You challenged me on these minutes. When I was elected to the school board in 1971...
Ms. Wisłowski, right now, we're focusing on the bill list. If you have comments regarding the bill list...
I'll do it.
which
I'll
you
do
just
it later.
had-
It's quite all right, because you'll let anybody stand up here and attack anyone you don't like. But boy, do you ever shut down someone when they get you in a corner. So my comment is finished for now. I'm voting no on the bill list,
right.
as I always do. But I want to mention this, Mr. Harvey, and this is on the bill list. I had 2 brothers and 2 sisters. It's not funny.
I'm not
2
laughing
brothers
at you.
and 2 sisters who died during this term.
Okay.
I didn't even know that we send flowers, let alone be accused of being so heartless that I couldn't send them to the staff. That was an outrageous lie, and you were behind it. Okay. And I can tell you that that hurt terribly. You didn't even take a moment of silence to acknowledge that my brother, who had been ordained at the Vatican, was a very highly respected man in the whole United States and Europe. And you didn't even acknowledge that Father passed away. And I thought that was just showing your true stripes. So that was your low blow, and I can guarantee you that you will be branded with the sort of person you are for that kind of stuff. You and that cook from the tech school, and I hope he creates an international incident.
All right. Mr. Snipes, we're looking at comments or questions regarding the bill list.
No comment, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dents?
No comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, then, is there a motion to approve the bill list, $2,131,709.38?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
No.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
Absolutely not. And use both words, please.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go to manager comment. Mr. Gray?
Yes, just a few items tonight. First item, I have a letter from Tom Hecker dated June 7th, representing Viking Associates, Woolston Way, requesting an extension of time on the project until September 30th, 2011. The board is asked to consider this extension.
Okay, comments or questions regarding the letter extension for Viking? Mr. Zupka?
No.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
None.
Mr. Dents?
No.
Okay, and I have none. All right, motion to grant the letter of extension to 9/30/2011.
Seconded.
You gotta make a motion.
So moved.
You made it, I'm sorry. I'm seconding the motion.
Sorry. Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Next item I have, I received a letter today from Tony Doherty, dated June 21st, from Traffic Planning and Design concerning the New Falls Road and Tyburn Road traffic signal improvement project and the Village and Nottingham Streetlight Replacement Project. At the April 12th, 2011 meeting, the Board of Supervisors approved TPD to proceed with the construction services required to obtain bids for construction contractors to build improvements for the 2 projects. TPD has completed preparation of the bidding and contract documents and is requesting authorization to advertise from the board for these projects for construction bids. At this time, the board is asked to consider approving authorization advertised for these projects.
Okay, and we talked before about the street light, this intersection, Tyburn and New Falls Road is one that a lot of people complain about. And so looking at modernizing those lights, and also the lights in the Village of Nottingham, which I think are originals, which is about 30 years old, and certainly are in need of replacement, repair. Is there motion to authorize advertisement for this project?
I'll make the motion.
Yeah, second it.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, motion passes.
Next item I have concerns the Verizon contract for the boat ramp. The contract has been secured for a Verizon T1 line to be installed and used at the Quaker Pen boat ramp facility. This contract is for a 2-year period with a monthly cost of $490. This T1 line will provide data connectivity for the parking, pay station, security cameras, and emergency phone. Verizon was the only vendor in the area to service the location and the only one with T1 level service. The board is asked to consider this Verizon contract for the boat ramp. In addition, Mr. Matt Markey's here in case the board has any questions.
Okay, Mr. Markey, there was some question when this came up 2 weeks ago about the cost. And I had spoken to you, and I think Mr. Dent had spoken to you as well about the cost, and you explained to us why the cost was so high. If you wouldn't mind explaining it publicly now. $450 a month, is that right?
$450 a month for 2 years. There's no service in this area whatsoever. Verizon's running over 300 feet of new fiber to get us connectivity down at the location. We have no other option. There's no cell signals in the area. There's no option for a satellite. Really, we have no choice but to go with a provider that will run the line, and that's Verizon. They're running all this, and for 2 years, locking in a price of $450 with the level of data connection we need. Running the cameras, the kiosk, the emergency phone, we do need more bandwidth than just a normal residential connection.
Okay. So a lot of the cost is not just the service, it's also the actual, are they trenching the line? Are they doing on poles?
A combination of aerial and underground.
Okay.
As they run it all the way back from the main road.
It's all, we're paying also for all the line and all the.
It's being incurred, we're incurring the cost in our monthly fee.
Okay, all right. Comments or questions? Mr. Zupka?
No.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
I do, Mr. Markey. How much why do we need a telephone down there, first of all? Most everyone carries a cell phone. It's bad enough we had to build the thing for the whole Delaware River to use at the Falls taxpayers' expense. Now we're going to do a telephone.
Actually, the boat ramp is paid for by host community fees, not by the taxpayers. And Mr. Markey already said.
And I brought the host community fees in. Don't talk over me.
Yes, of
if you're
course.
going to tell a lie, I'm going to correct it.
No.
You're using my host community fees.
Last I saw,
Put that gavel in your
go
ear.
Ahead, go ahead, try it. Last I checked, that money comes to Falls Township, not to Dorothy Kozlowski.
No,
It's
it
Falls
doesn't, but
Township's
boy,
money.
she negotiated it, and we wouldn't have it. And
that's where
for
you
the
got all-
record,
that's where you get all those houses
Waste
from.
Management certainly didn't give me anything, but somebody took
All right.
him to South Korea for nothing.
Actually, I paid my way to South Korea, Mrs.
You show it.
Kozlowski. And as Mr. Markey already said, there is no cell phone service down there, so that's the other argument that you made.
The cell coverage down there is spotty at best, so having an emergency phone with its remote location is really necessary. I mean, we can't rely on cell coverage. There is no towers. The closest tower is probably all the way to Tyburn Road. And this is a very wooded area. It's surrounded, and it's right next to water. So we really
Beth.
can't rely on cell.
I have a lot of respect for you. I have no quarrel with your explanation. However, if I had voted for that boat ramp, then I wouldn't be allowed to question and say, you voted for it. That's why I vote no on all the invoices, this pay-to-play nonsense, and all this razzle-dazzle with our money, and money that I brought into the township that I have no say on spending. I have the documentation already. The only thing I ever asked Waste Management for was a document showing who negotiated the contracts for all that money, and they didn't give me a dime, nor did I want one. I did it for the community.
Okay. Comments or questions for Mr. Markey? Mr. Snipes?
No, I think we've been over this before.
Okay, Mr. Dents?
No.
Okay, public comment needed? See no hands. All right, then. Thank you, Mr. Markey. Appreciate all your work on this and your explanation. All right, then, we are looking to approve the business service agreement with Verizon for the services at the Quaker Penn Boat Ramp. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zepka?
No.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
No.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snakes?
Yes.
I'd like to comment the fact that this phone line, the cameras, the phones, this is for the safety of not only the people using the boat ramp, the residents, but for the security of our stuff that's down there and everything else. This is something that we have to have down there.
We didn't even have to have the boat ramp.
Mr. Gray?
Yes, my next item, a few announcements from the Park and Rec Department. The Park and Rec Department continues to accept Pinewood Pool memberships. At this time, the summer camp program is full. The Falls Township Summer Concert Series is held on Sunday evenings at the Township Community Park Phase 1 Pavilion, starting at 6 p.m. These concerts are free and open to the public. There are two special events at the Pinewood Pool during the end of June. There's a teen dance on Thursday, June 23rd from 7:45 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. A DJ will be on hand providing music. Excuse me. This event is for teens ages 12 to 16 years old. Cost is $3. The other special event is a family movie night to be held on Saturday, June 25th. And finally, Mylars for Eleanor Roosevelt are ready for signature. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to move to board comment. Mrs. Kozlowski?
Why don't you let me speak last for a change, Mr. Harvey, and then there won't be any lies told. I'm going to pass, and I'm going to speak last. I'm told I have the absolute
Ms.
right to
Kozlowski, this
request
is your
that.
time to speak. I'm recognizing you first. Speak
Okay,
now,
but
please.
let me tell you something. You're being monitored a great deal. You're going to get a lot of greetings for the way you run these meetings.
I'm sure.
Now, I'm going to talk. I don't care when you do it because I'll get you back anyhow. I don't need to debate with you, Mr. Harvey. I don't debate with liars. And I've quit fighting with you because you start one every time. Now, you challenged me to show what's wrong with the minutes. Well, it's quoting me, Mrs. Dorothy Kozlowski, that she wanted to answer Norma Lindblom about the... Lindblom dared to come here and call me a liar. I don't lie, I don't cheat, and I don't steal, and I don't tolerate those who do. But she came in here with her lack of knowledge, and she said that I resigned early from every position I have ever held. That's as crazy as that Simon Campbell attack. But she quotes me as saying that in the 1971 election, she said she was appointed to the Pennsbury School Board. That certainly is inaccurate. I was elected by the highest vote that any school board member ever got. Not only in Pennsbury, but I was told by the Board of Elections that it was the highest that anybody ever posted for the whole county. And that was because, the Republicans came and wrote in my name in 1971, and I was a registered Democrat. You couldn't cross-file then. And so that high vote was garnered. I already have that part written in my book. But then there's also the meeting with the three children, young people, college students, who came here and wanted justice from this board. And I left the meeting to speak with them, just as I want to speak with you, Mr. Acevedo. And I said, we'll take a break, and I will talk with you privately in the back room because it's a personnel thing, and I will not air it publicly. And so we go in the back room, and they bring the papers that they brought and ask this whole board to examine. And I was angry because I have tried to get my own stationery since I most often don't agree with how they're spending money that I brought in. And I have not been able to get my stationery. They force me to pay it, but they'll pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to the pay-to-play guys just as little stipends for political contributions, and I have that documented as well. So anyhow, I told the 3 young students that I would listen to them. They brought a problem to me. My name was on the paper, and I have warned Mr. Harvey that Bill Reese in the Recreation Department had better sign his name to anything that has my name on. I investigated this thing, and I can tell you that Falls Township had better take a second look at what they've done, because there is one person that I do not believe got due process. And having been familiar with that phrase in the courtroom and loving the law and loving justice the way I do, I could not believe that there was not one scintilla of evidence when I read the file. So I advised our labor solicitor that he should take a second look. I don't intend to air this publicly, but I can tell you I believe it's going to be public because I believe there was a gross injustice done. So that is not accurate either. The minutes I could go through, there are 9, 10 pages in these minutes. 11. We don't have time to do that at meetings. We'd just be carping about inconsequential things. I don't need to be drawn into that kind of stuff. I've decided that I'm not debating with these guys anymore. I've got a better way to do it, and that's legally document, do what they tell me to do, and I've been doing that for several years now. So I don't have to lower myself to get into arguments with people who are so ignorant and do not do their homework and do things that are contrary to the best interests of the people in this township. And that's what I'll say unless Mr. Harvey inspires me again tonight.
Mr. Dents?
I have no comment tonight.
Mr. Zipka?
Schools have ended. The children are out. They're riding their bikes. They're out there. The sun's going down. You come up different streets. The sun glare might be in your eyes. So be extra vigilant for the youngsters and even some of the we'll say some of our older citizens that just don't like to walk on the sidewalks, walk on the street. As the sun's going down, you come up some of the streets, it's pretty hard to see who's walking in front of you. And 4th of July is coming up. We won't have another meeting till after that. But not that I condone it. I do enjoy fireworks, but it just seems that people have a propensity to set them off in their backyards, their front yards, or out in the street, and I don't know if you might consider it a rite of passage. And again, I don't necessarily condone it, but if you're going to do it, just try to be safe. I know recently someone was setting them off, and they got burned. They got burned from it. A couple cars, I understand, might have gotten some burn marks from some of the fallout out on it. Just try to be safe and be aware of the aftermath or what's falling out of the skies, and you don't want to damage any of your property or your residents' property, but be able to enjoy the holiday and see fireworks under a controlled condition. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Snipes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I was glad to see that we are moving toward completion of the boat ramp, and I'm wondering, for the event on the 30th to open the boat ramp, I won't be able to attend. I'm hoping other board members can be there, and I'm wondering if we have a plan for
I don't think
what
we
the
have
celebration is. Can we talk it up a little bit right now so we can
We
get
don't
people
have too much of a thing, sort of a big event planned. We can try and maybe get something. I think Mr. Clark is saying we should push Mr. Graham off the dock just as just to kick off the whole thing.
It's not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea. No, I think his wife and kids would probably enjoy that and might even help push it. But it is. But I was going to touch on it later. We don't necessarily have something planned right now. I mean, obviously we have about 9 days to get something ready, which is not a lot of time. It is, obviously, we wanted to get open in April, beginning of the season, and unfortunately, we just couldn't get it accomplished. But I think maybe we'll try and do some kind of ceremony at some point. I'm not sure we'll be able to organize it by next week.
Well, I hope whatever we're going to do, we can get it onto our website so people can know what time of day it is and at least what time they're open and what time they can get their boats in the water.
Right.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Just remind board members that we're going to, and members of the public, we're going to one meeting a month in July and August. It'll be the third Tuesday. So we're basically skipping our first meeting in July and our first meeting in August. This has been pretty much the way we've done things here in the township for, well, before I got here, even. Let's see. I want to echo Mr. Zupka's comments about the fireworks. It's become sort of, thanks to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania passing a law several years ago that lets you buy them in Pennsylvania, but you can't be a resident of Pennsylvania and you're not allowed to use them in Pennsylvania. It's just one of the most idiotic laws ever passed by anybody. so that's saying something. But it certainly is something our police are always getting calls, constantly on that weekend, that day, from people that are unhappy about fireworks going off, and it is something that you do have to be neighborly. You have to think about your neighbors. You have to be safe about it, as Mr. Zupka said, for yourself and for others. Just to make sure that you're not, sending things that are flammable onto other people's property, other people's yards, other people's cars, towards crowds of people, etc. Just be smart, please. Just be smart. Speaking of being smart, if you saw in the newspaper today, there was an article about a traffic calming measure in Newtown Township that didn't look very smart. But it was, they took one road and one section of Newtown Township and actually had sort of the yellow line serpentining around just in the street, and they had white cones out in the middle of the street, and the idea, of course, was to get people to slow down and have to turn. I want to let people know that is not something we're thinking about doing on any of the roads we're looking at in Falls Township. We are looking at traffic calming. I'm not sure who their traffic engineer is. I don't think it's our traffic engineer, but I would obviously we're not going to be in favor of creating sort of an obstacle course or some kind of slalom kind of look on any road in Falls Township. The boat ramp, again, is going to open on the 30th of this month, next week, June 30th. You can get your day passes and your season passes here in the Township building. The site will be patrolled by park security as well as by police. And so if you do not have a pass, you will be ticketed basically, and you'll be asked to provide that money. We are reducing the fees because we're opening it partway through the season. So what used to be $150 for non-residents for a season pass will now be $100, basically taking down a third. For residents, it was going to be $75 for the year season. Now it'll be $50, and again, taking it down by a third. This is something that people have been trying to build in this township for years and years and years, long before I got here, long before Mr. Snipes and Mr. Dents got up on this board, and Mr. Zupka as well, who's been here longer than all the people up here right now. People have been trying to do this for a very long time, to build a boat ramp in Falls Township, and we are very close to completing it, a week away. I know a lot of people are very, very excited about it. I get asked about it at least once a week by somebody who has a boat, who wants to put it in, tired of driving down to Philly. They can't put it in Yardley. It's too shallow. It's going to be a great addition to our park system. And I know a lot of people are looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to getting it open. It is going to be open 24 hours. There are lights down there, and so there isn't necessarily any sort of opening time. But on the 30th, it is going to be open for business. And again, be smart, be safe, be courteous of other boaters. You put your boat in, you move your car off to the side, and then let somebody else get their boat in. And we'll ask you, obviously, to take care of this park. It's only going to be as nice as the people who use it keep it, basically. Okay, finally, I want to just talk a little bit about the Disabled Persons Advisory Board, which is looking for some members. The Disabled Persons Advisory Board has a couple jobs here in Falls Township. One of them is to take a look at properties in the township, at businesses and things of that nature, and just keep an eye out for advice that they can give the township or business owners in terms of how to be conscious of their customers, of the people, residents who have disabilities of some type. This was a board that was set up quite a while ago. I'm not sure. I think it was in the 90s, I think maybe. This was set up with the Americans with Disabilities Act. I think it was when it was first established. And one of the original members, Tom Stafford, who is back on this board, you do not have to be disabled necessarily to be on this board. We're just looking for people who are interested in helping out their community. Usually you meet once a month. And it's usually a very short meeting. It's not a tremendous amount of time, and it's just something that is a way to give back to the community and help us be even better as a township. And so if you're interested in being part of the Disabled Persons Advisory Board, I'd ask you to contact the township, either through the phone number, 949-9000, or through the website, www.fallstwp.com. And you can email the township, just say you're interested, and just send us a letter of interest or resume. If you have a resume that you think would make you a good candidate, we'd really appreciate your support. And obviously, we're 5 people up here, and there are a lot of people that work here in this building, people that work here just down here at the table, the professionals. But they can only do so much. This is a community that relies on everybody, volunteers, whether it's coaching baseball or soccer, or helping out with picking up litter on the side of the road, or running a board like this one, just giving a little bit of your time to help out. So with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.